So let's move on to the front of the car and draw the front headlights, the front blinker lights, the front grille, and the front bumper. Let's navigate over to the navigation cube and let's just left click and hold, and let's just turn the car around so we can see the front here. We're going to draw right on here. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, it's going to be very simple. Let's left click and release so we can see the front, and let's make it nice and large. I want to be able to see the millimeters boxes, which are right here. Each one of these boxes is a millimeter. Okay, so we know we're going to hover over the green plus sign, create sketch. We're going to left click and release. And then we're going to hover over the plane we want to draw on, which is right here. We're going to reorient our car using the navigation cube. And we're going to make it bigger, as big as possible. There we go. Let's get rid of the sketch palette. We don't need that. Let's hover over a two-point rectangle, left click and release. And let's hover over right there. Place first corner, left click and release. Pull it over to 25 and pull it down. And as you can see, the bumper will be 2 millimeters high by 25 millimeters wide. And let's left click and release. And there we have the beginnings of our bumper. How about the headlights? Well, very simply, let's hover over the circle diameter circle, left click and release. And let's go right there. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 over, and 1, 2, 3, 3 down. And we're going to left click and release, and we're going to go to 2.236. We're going to snap to 2.236. Let's left click and release. And let's go right across, do the same thing. Notice we have a dotted line giving us a guideline. Left click and release, 2.236, left click and release. And we're done with the bumper and we're done with the headlights. At least we're done with the 2D drawings. Now we're going to hover right over a two-point rectangle and we're going to do the blinker lights. We're going to put them right there. We're going to make them 3 by 2. Let's see, we'll make them 1 by 2. All right, there we go. How about 1 by 2? Left click and release. Let's do another one. 1 by 2. And there we go. And how about the grill? Well, the grill's pretty easy. We're just going to come right over here. And we're going to make each part of the grill 1.5 high by, let's do it, 0.5 millimeter wide. And there we go. Let's do another one. Let's go right over here. All right, I'm just going to keep working on this grill. It's just a left click release, drag, and left click and release. And let's put the grill all the way across. There we go. Okay, there we have our grill. Let's finish our sketch. And let's 3D extrude all of these 2D components. How are we going to do that? Well, we know we have to select them and turn them dark blue. So I'm going to hold down the shift button and I'm going to select, and I'm going to select each component. Make sure you hold down the shift button. Looks like I missed one. Okay, we'll leave the bumper for last because we're going to extrude the bumper 3 millimeters, and we're only going to extrude the headlights and the blinker lights and the grille 2 millimeters. So now I'm just going to hover over the navigation tool, and I'm just going to shift this a little bit so I can see the arrow when it comes. Okay, and we're going to hover over extrude, and notice we do have the arrow. It's right there. Let me shift over a little bit more. There you go. And let's pull it out 2 millimeters. There we go. And we don't want it to join. We want them to be a new body. And there we go. Okay, let's move on to the bumper. Looks like the bumper disappeared. So let's just try that again. Let's make it as big as possible again. Let's again hover over Create Sketch. Left click and release. Hover over the plane that we want to draw on, which is the front of the car. I'm going to grab the car with my hand and pull it over. Then I'm going to hit the escape button, get rid of that hand. I'm going to hover over 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to hover right over there. Left click and release. Hover right over 2x25. Left click and release. And let's finish the sketch. Again, I'm going to hover over the navigation cube and just spin it so I can see the arrow when I 3D extrude it. I'm going to hover over the 2D drawing of the bumper. I'm going to hover over extrude. We got our arrow, and I'm going to pull it out 3. And there we go. We don't want it to join. We want it to be a new body, and I'm going to hit OK. And let's left click and release on the home button, and let's just spin this around. Left click hold on the navigation cube, and there we have it. That looks pretty good. Let's make it bigger so we can see what it looks like. Okay, that looks pretty good. So there we are. We're done with the front bumper, the front headlights, the front blinkers, and the front grille. Okay, what's next? Well, let's go back to the home button. That's a left click and release. And let's draw the wheels. Okay, well, in order to draw the wheels, we have to draw them two-dimensionally first and then extrude them. So again, we hover over, create sketch, left click and release, and we're going to draw the wheels right here on this plane. So I'm going to click on that plane, and I'm just going to flip this around. And this time I'm going to use the hand right here. I'm going to left click and release the hand, so I get the hand. Then I'm going to left click and hold, and I'm just going to pull this right in the middle. Okay, I'm using the hand. Now to get out of the hand, you have to hit the escape button. So let's hit the escape button and get out of the hand. And we're going to draw one wheel here and one wheel here. So let's hover over center diameter circle. Let's left click and release. And let's go right, how about we go right here. And let's left click and release, and let's make a nice big wheel. All right, remember we want to snap it, right? Because we don't want to really be redimensioning everything. So let's snap this to 15.620. And let's left click and release. Okay, there we go. And let's line this one up right across. Notice we have the dotted line. And let's left click and release. And let's snap this also to 15.620. Left click and release. And there we got 2 wheels. And let's finish that sketch by left click and releasing. And let's go back to the home button, left click release. And now we want to extrude the wheels, right? So we just hover over the wheels. Let's hover over the wheels, and we hold down the shift button. And notice a little piece is missing. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully we got that. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like we got it. Okay. And let's hover over that. Remember, I'm holding down the shift button so I can get both of them at the same time. All right, now let's hover over extrude, left click and release, and I want to make these 10. So I'm going to type in 10. Oh, 10 is too much. Okay, let's make them, how about 7? Nah, 7 is too much. Let's make them 5. Okay, 5 looks good. It looks like I made them 5. We do not want them to join. We want them to be independent, so we want them to be new bodies. So let's left click and release new body. And let's left click and release OK. And there we have our 2 wheels on one side. Now we want to place the axle right here and another axle right there in the center. Okay, so let's do that. Here we go. Let's hover back over Create Sketch, left click and release, and let's hover right over this. We want to draw right on this plane. So there we go. Again, let's grab the hand, left click and release, left click, hold down, right? Left click and hold, don't release it, otherwise you won't be able to move it. Now let's get rid of the hand by hitting the escape button. And we are going to draw an axle right here and another axle right here. So here we go. We're going to hover over center diameter circle, left click and release. And let's make it bigger with the scroll wheel so we can see what we're doing. We're going to left click and release right in the center of the circle. And we're going to make it 2.828. Let's make it snap to 2.828. Whoops, I missed it. And there we go. And right here, let's snap to 2.828. Oh, all right, let's use the undo button. And let's hover back over center diameter circle. Left click and release. Come to the center of the wheel. Left click and release. And let's make sure we hover over. Let's make sure we snap 2.828. Keep it steady. Left click and release. And there you go. Okay, let's finish this sketch by left click and releasing finish sketch. And let's left click and release the home button. I'm going to make it bigger with the scroll wheel. There we go. And I'm going to extrude the axles. And here we go. So I'm going to hover over them. Well, they look a little small. There we go. Remember, they have to highlight into a light gray. Hold down the shift button and select the axle. Hold down the shift button and select this axle. There it is. It's a little tricky. Make sure it turns light gray. And there we go. We got both of them. Now they're both dark blue, which means we can extrude them. Let's hover back over extrude. Left click and release. And notice we have the arrow. We're going to left click and hold. And we're going to drag this to 2 millimeters. Okay. Notice they both extruded at the same time. We're not going to join them. We're going to make them a new body. And we're going to left click and release OK. Now we're going to fillet these. Very easy to do. We're just going to hover over fillet, left click and release. And we're just going to hover over the circumference right here. I'm going to hold my shift button down. And I'm going to left click and release. And I'm going to get rid of this. We don't need the fillet pop-up box because we can see what we're doing. These arrows will make the fillet pop-up box invisible and visible. Invisible and visible. Let's make it invisible. Now I'm going to hover back over this edge because I want, and I held down the shift button, right? So I'm going to fillet both of them at the same time. And then I'm going to hover over the navigation cube. I'm just going to spin this a little bit because I want to see how much I'm going to fillet it. I think I'm going to fillet it. Well, it's a little hard to see. Here we go. Let's fillet it. Whoop. Whoop. There we go. Fillet it 1 millimeter. Okay, we can fillet them 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters. Let's try to fillet them 2 millimeters. Let's see what happens. See if we get an error or not. Okay, we got an error. That's okay. What we have to do then is we'll fillet them 1.5 millimeters. Oh, we have another error. How about 1.25? There you go. There's 1.25. And let's hit the enter button. And let's left click and release the home button. And there we have it. So we have our axles, we have our wheels. Now, if you remember from the previous drawing that I already did, we wanted to get this mid-plane in. So then once we get the mid-plane in, we can mirror the wheels and the initials to the other side. All right, so let's take a look on how we're going to do that. Let's go back over here. And we're going to go to construct, and we're going to go to mid-plane. And notice what we have here. We have plane select. So it's asking us what planes do we want to select so that we can have a mid-plane between those two planes. Well, obviously we want this plane right here. So there's plane number 1. And then we have to navigate, because we need another plane. We got to have plane number 2, which is right here. And that'll give us the mid-plane. And there it is. Let's left click and release. Okay, now let's take a look and make sure we got it. Okay, it's a little easier to see if I click right here. There it is. All right, and now we can see we have a mid-plane. All right, now we're going to mirror the wheels and the initials and the axle hubcaps to the other side across this mid-plane. So here we go. Let's get it in the right spot so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, how about like that? Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so how do we mirror? Well, we go to create and we go to mirror. Okay, and we have to select all the objects we want to mirror. So I'm going to hold down the shift button and I'm going to select the tire and I'm going to select the axle. Looks like it's already selected. I'm going, oh, look at that. Okay, looks like everything's selected already. And I want to select the initials. There they are. Okay, looks like we selected everything. Let's take a look. Okay, when you select everything, everything turns dark blue, right? All right, everything looks pretty good. Looks like it's all selected. Okay, now the mirror plane. What plane do we want to mirror it across? It's asking us what plane do we want to mirror it across. Okay, so select, and obviously we want to mirror everything across this plane right here. Now watch what happens. Let me get it in the right spot so you can see it. Here, watch. You're going to see everything pop up right across this plane. Boom. And there we go. That should be it. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we did it. Oh, I think the only problem is we have MD backwards now. Okay, well, we'll fix that later. All right, let's left click and release OK. Let's go back to the home button. Whoops, what happened? Looks like we have an error. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this again. Let's go to create. Let's go to mirror. And let's pick the faces that we want to mirror. Or the objects, I should say. Oh, faces. We have to have bodies. So make sure we select the bodies because we want to hold down the shift button, select that body, hold down the shift button, select that body. And we're not going to mirror the initials because they're going to be backwards. Okay, but it looks like we got it. And now we're going to left click and release on mirror plane select. And I'm going to navigate and show you how it's going to pop over to the other side. Watch what happens when I select this mirrored plane. And there you go, you have them. And now let's just left click and release Now let's see what we got. Okay, looks like we missed the axles. No big deal. Here we go. We're going to come back over to Create, left click and release. Scroll down to Mirror, left click and release. And let's grab those axles. I'm holding down the Shift button. We're going to select axle 1. We're going to select axle 2. And then we're going to select, and I'm going to navigate just to show you that it pops in. We're going to select the plane that we're going to mirror across. And there you go. And let's left click and release the OK button. And let's go back to the isometric view. We're getting very close to this drawing. Okay, look how close we're getting. Let's see. Yep, we're getting close. We're getting close to this drawing. Whoops. Okay. Let's take a look and make sure we got the wheels on the other side. I'm going to left click and hold down the navigation cube. Yes, that looks pretty good. Okay, let's put the initials here. Okay, like the initials are on this side. Right here, we want to put the initials on the other side. Okay, so let's navigate to the other side. And here we go. All right, let's make it a little bigger with the scroll wheel. Okay, here we are. Okay, so we have to 2D draw the initials and then 3D extrude the initials on this side. So we hover over, create sketch, left click and release. Click on the body that we want to draw on, the body side that we want to draw on, that's right here. And we left click and release on the create tab, left click and release on the text tab. And here we go, let's type in our initials. Mine are MD. I want to left click and release on Arial Black, left click and release on Arial Black. And I believe we made them 7, if I recall correctly. I think we made them 7. No, looks like we made them 10. All right, let's keep them 10. And left click hold on the rotate button. Let's get it 180 degrees. Left click hold on the blue dot with the crosshairs. And let's make them approximately in the middle. Right about, let's see, I think I'll put them right there. Okay, looks good. And left click and release OK. Left click and release finish sketch. Left click and release the home button. And okay, so you see we have MD, it's right there. All right, let's navigate to this side here. Here we go. Let's make them bigger. Let's make it bigger. All right, now remember what we have to do. We have to hover over the initials and left click and release, and then hover over the extrude shortcut, left click and release, and we immediately have the arrow. We can immediately left click hold and pull it up too. And we do not want them to join with the body, so left click release on join, left click release on new body, and left click and release on OK. All right, this looks pretty good. Let's see if it's what we need here. All right, let's left click and hold on the navigation cube and let's see what we got. Well, we have the front, that looks pretty good. We have the front bumper, we have the initials, we have the wheels, we have the back lights, we have the back initials, we have the muffler on the back, we have the bumper on the back. All right, so it looks like we're okay. All right, now comes the hard part, the chassis.